Bismillah wal alhamdulillah wa salawat wa salam ala rasulillah wa alihi wa sahbihi wa min wala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all of you, my beloved brothers and sisters. I pray you and your families are well. It's such an honor to be with you all. First and foremost, I want to wish you all Ramadan Mubarak. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your siyam and your qiyam and your sadaqah, your ibadah, and your good deeds, inshallah. We are blessed to witness another Ramadan. This is always a joy to our hearts and to our souls. And as ISIP, the International Students of Islamic Psychology, we want to welcome you all to our Ramadan initiatives that we will do throughout this holy month and this sacred month of Ramadan. We will do a lot of different programs, courses, lectures. We're also going to do a Ramadan fundraising. So we're very excited for the first time ever to do this fundraising as ISIP. So please stay tuned through our WhatsApp groups, through our social media handles, and through our newsletter to benefit from all these initiatives that we as a movement and all of my colleagues, all of my excellent brothers and sisters are organizing through our local and regional chapters and through our global initiatives and our affiliated initiatives as well. We're doing a Ramadan Buddy program in the ISIP North American chapter, which is very beautiful, and we're very excited about that. We're doing a Futua Academy and Futua Tarbiyah Task Force, an ISIP program for children between the age of 4 and 8, how to introduce Ramadan to them in this early age, which is a very exciting program. And we're doing 5, 6 international lecture series as well, and many other initiatives. So the first lecture today will be about a green Ramadan, mashallah. And actually, we had the honor to conduct this lecture last year through Shifa Institute, which is an ISIP affiliated initiative. And Sister Mehwish is one of our project manager in Shifa Institute's and ISIP's Norwegian chapter. And she did it in Norwegian, actually. And then we asked Sister Mehwish to actually, if possible, to conduct this lecture in English as well, because all of our Scandinavian brothers and sisters really enjoyed it, those who participated last year. And Sister Mehwish was very generous and, mashallah, generous with her time. So she accepted our request and she will conduct this lecture in English this time, inshallah. So most welcome once more, brothers and sisters, to our Ramadan focus series, this holy month of Ramadan. And we hope that you guys will harvest all the fruits of this holy month of Ramadan through your ibadah and good deeds. And there is always something that always catches my mind, which is the way that the Sahaba and the pious companions of the Prophet ﷺ used to prepare themselves for Ramadan. And so they used to prepare themselves 6 months in advance, and then they enjoyed this blessed month, and then they used to harvest the fruits spiritually 6 months after this month as well. So they were always, in a sense, in a state of closeness to the holy month of Ramadan. And this is something that can inspire us to do the same, so that we don't think that Ramadan is only one month. It's actually, in its essence, something that we bring with us in all of the months in the year, inshallah, by the way that our uh, companions of the Prophet ﷺ used to engage in this sacred month. All right, my beloved brothers and sisters, most welcome. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We will go through today's agenda as usual. We will just start by reciting Surah Al-Fatiha, and then we will go through some guidelines, and then we will do the lecture with Sister Mehwish, and after that we will have some Q&As, and then we will end, inshallah. We're mindful that some of our brothers and sisters might have Taraweeh prayers or iftar or prayers during the session as well, so don't feel shy to just do your thing. Your ibadah is very important, and rest assured that this lecture will be uploaded on ISIP's YouTube channel within a couple of days. Specifically, I know for our brothers and sisters in the Nusantara region, in the Malay world, in Southeast Asia, South Asia, and also in Oceania, it might collude with iftar and Taraweeh prayers as well. All right, the Zoom etiquettes, my dear brothers and excellent colleagues, if you guys can have your cameras on, that would be lovely so that we can all connect. Feel free to also rename yourself, add your name and the country of origin, because it's always very inspiring to see that we are an international movement as ISIP with members and brothers and sisters all over the world. Do not record or take any screenshots. As I mentioned earlier, the ISIP's YouTube channel will upload this lecture within a couple of days, and we will ask for the permission from Sister Mehwish if we can share her PowerPoint slide as well to all of you. And you can always utilize the chat option for any questions to our lecturer as well. And if you need any live transcription, Dear excellent brothers and sisters, feel free to, in the Zoom application, press the more button and a request for it, and then we will give access to that to you as well, inshallah. Also, I want to thank my beloved colleagues, Sister Aya, Sister Nadira, Sister Tri, Sister Mediha, Sister Dania, and Sister Fatima for doing all the back end work for all of our international lectures. They're doing an amazing job, and I want to thank you all for giving out of your precious time, my beloved sisters, and all other colleagues within the ISIP movement and organization, and all of our advisory board members as well. So just briefly about us as a movement. So ISIP is an inclusive space designed to connect people with diverse backgrounds interested in Islamic psychology and Muslim mental health. And our aim is to disseminate knowledge, share resources, and discuss best practices in a free and accessible manner. And we try to be a platform to enable further development of people's personal and professional interests, studies, and understanding of Islamic psychology and Muslim mental health within their communities and countries of origin. And my beloved colleagues, Sister Aya and Sister Tree, will throughout the session share some of the WhatsApp groups to our different groups on WhatsApp, Islamic Psychology Research Sharing Group, and other ISIP affiliated groups, so you guys can benefit from these groups. Also, our YouTube channel link will be shared, and you can become a member, which is free of charge, through our website, www.isip.foundation, where you can also get access to our digital library. And feel free to follow us on all of our social media handles as well. And as I mentioned earlier, I just want to restate that for the first time in 5 years since the inception of ISIP back in 2020, we're doing a fundraising. We're very excited about this. So this fundraising will go to really support our movement so we can take the next step, because we're going through some growing pains, dear brothers and sisters. It's a huge movement with so many amazing brothers and sisters, thousands of members all over the world doing such an amazing work, everybody giving out of their precious time. In order for us to take the next level and be able to offer even more programs and courses, we need your support, inshallah. I hope you guys have benefited from everything that we're doing, and your support will be crucial. So within a couple of days, this fundraising campaign will be shared in all of our social media handles, including our WhatsApp groups, and all the donation and contributions you can give will benefit so that we can normalize Islamic psychology even more on a grassroots level and on an academical level and on a civil servant level as well, inshallah. One of the amazing initiatives I want to highlight is that we're establishing the Futu Academy, one of our affiliated initiatives in Palestine, together with our brothers and sisters in Nablus. This is really exciting news. We're also establishing an Futu Academy and ISIP platform in Medina, the city of the Prophet ﷺ. We're also establishing a whole focus on supporting brothers and sisters who are going through genocides and ethnic cleansings and natural disasters and catastrophes like we have seen in Turkestan and Myanmar, of course, in Palestine, other regions. So this is a huge task force we're developing right now. And we have over 30 local regional chapters all over the world that needs your support. And through our affiliated initiatives like Shifa Institute, Al-Balkhi Institute, etc., we're going to do research, holistic approaches towards health. We're doing curriculum developments, etc. And with your support, both if you want to volunteer or even support us through our Ramadan campaign, we will be able to reach even more brothers and sisters and hearts and support all of our brothers and sisters who are doing khidmah in such an excellent way. So please stay tuned for that, and all of your support will be highly appreciated. All right, dear brothers and sisters, this is our WhatsApp group link if you want to use that one. And without any further ado, we will now introduce the main person for this event today, which is our first Ramadan initiative for this month, this Ramadan this year. This Sister Mehwish Dar. She's from Norway, so she's quite close to me. I'm from Sweden. So alhamdulillah, we're Muslim Vikings. She's the Global Creative Partner. She works as the Global Creative Partnership and Culture Campaign Coordinator at Greenpeace International. She's also the Project Manager of Shifa Institute Norwegian Chapter, which is an ISIP affiliated initiative. And there's so much more to speak about your sister Mehwish, so maybe you can introduce yourself in a more holistic way, inshallah. So without any further ado, let me stop sharing my screen. Just 1 second.
Thank you so much.
1 second, let me just I have some issues with my Zoom. Why is it not? Just 1 second, sister. Please forgive me for the delay, brothers and sisters, as I try to assess here. There you go. Okay, I think that everything is set.
There we go. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you so
Welcome
much.
to the Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you so much for spending your precious time during the second day of Ramadan with us. We really appreciate it. And like Brother Jamaluddin pointed out, if you'd like to turn your cameras on, that'd be lovely because I would love to see who I'm speaking to. But of course, no pressure if you're not comfortable. But it would be very nice to see who's in the virtual room. So welcome to this series of lectures during Ramadan. Today, like Brother Jamaluddin pointed out, we're going to speak about how to kind of obtain a greener Ramadan, inshallah. So very quickly about me, I have my background from the humanitarian sector, and I've always been involved in community service in one way or another. However, the climate and environmental issue was never really what I was most aware of before the launch of the UN climate report in 2021. A former colleague of mine from Doctors Without Borders, who was committed to the climate and environmental protection, had written a post on social media about the report that made a very strong impression on me. So a combination of the climate report and my kind of discovery at the same time of literature about the link between Islam and the environment resulted in the intention to make an effort for the cause. So 6 months later, this commitment led to a job in Greenpeace, subhanAllah. I was basically contacted and asked to apply for this job, so alhamdulillah. As I became more and more kind of environmentally conscious, both through work and also in my personal life, my awareness of consumption also increased. I've become much more aware of both what I eat and the devastating effects that our consumption in this part of the world has, as we have a very high consumption per capita, as you probably know already. And the more aware I became, the more knowledge I thought about this within Islam. And I was very surprised in the beginning by the overlap of values, especially when it comes to the fundamental principles of the holy month of Ramadan. And so very quickly about the purpose of this lecture. With this lecture, we will take a look back at wisdom of an ancient sacred text to give us direction, teach us how to relate to the environment, and hopefully help us slow the effects of climate change. Here we go. So simply put, this is about human activity exceeding what the planet can bear, which creates an imbalance that leads to challenges and also changes in the climate and the environment. We can see that there are droughts, violent storms, heat waves, and floods, and they're forcing millions of people to flee in large parts of the world. And climate change is accelerating, becoming more intense, and some of the trends are already impossible to reverse, is what we can see. And climate destruction is also changing entire ecosystems. And this is quite serious because as humans, we depend on a sustainable natural diversity in order to survive on Earth. And those who are impacted, and that's why this is of a kind of utmost importance to us, is because those who are impacted by these changes are in large parts of the Muslim world. And therefore, it is extremely important that we not only take part in the discourse around climate change and environmentalism, but also take an active part in the fight to protect our planet. And how does this connect to Islam? The ethos of Islam integrates faith with a lifestyle that respects the rest of creation. The Quran contains principles of conservation, balance, and responsibility for the ecosystems of which we are a part. And that's something that I feel like we tend to forget, that we're also part of these ecosystems. While the Islamic tradition does not embrace the kind of modern secular notion of climate change and environmentalism in the way that we understand it and we speak about it, it nevertheless takes a holistic approach to existence in itself. So we are not necessarily told to protect trees and nature and animals, but it is embedded in the recommendations on how to conduct ourselves as Muslims. And there is also an underlying understanding of our role as a part of the natural order of the world. In many ways, Islam is environmentalism, you could argue. And as we read in the Quran in Surah 40, verse 57, the creation of the heavens and the earth is far greater than the creation of mankind. Just to like put things into perspective and how to understand ourselves in relation to the rest of creation. If we take a deeper dive into the scriptures beyond kind of rituals and rules, one can hardly find a page in the Quran that does not mention the cosmos, the earth, or the beings that call it home. And also the ethos of environmental protection is clearly evident in the scriptures. And the British scholar Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad uses verses from the Quran to argue that all living beings are equal to humans, that all parts of creation have rights and they deserve respect, which is reflected in the Quran also, as you can see on the slide here, that there is not a beast on this earth nor a creature that flies with the two wings, but that they are nations like yourselves. And so he kind of emphasizes the importance of the integrity of all beings, be it animals or nature or the cosmos and so on. And also it's very important to kind of keep in mind that we believe in tawakkul, that is khair in everything that happens to a believer. And religion correlates with a positive kind of understanding of mental health, because we know that religion entails perfection in the form of goodness, justice, and purity. But in our time, people are in deep imbalance. We exist in a time of imbalance, you could say, from the understanding of the kind of Islamic framework. Nothing follows Sirat al-Mustaqim, nothing can be characterized as mizan these days. We are victims of modernity that makes us disoriented and kind of without sakina. And a sign of this imbalance can be the emergence of anxiety and depression that grows intact with our consumption. So if you look at it outwardly and materially, we have never been better. But inside, the condition is completely different. We are floating kind of in a sea of kind of meaningless kind of consumption in many ways. And needless to say, the holy month of Ramadan is a very special time for us Muslims. It is a time for reflection and worship, good deeds and community. And the physical fast is an outward expression of our inner purification. And this is kind of maybe an aspect of Ramadan that is kind of maybe kind of not as focused on anymore. And the physical fast is, just an expression, like I said, for inner purification. And another central part of Ramadan is to create awareness around consumption. And our goal should always be to shift the focus from the material to the spiritual. And we know from science that fasting is linked to positive health effects, both physical and mental. And a reminder that we are not created to consume the way that we do today. It's very excessive. But when we fast, we return to a state that is more natural to us, connects us to our fitra, hopefully. Both when we look at human evolution and also in the form of from a religious perspective. So in its essence, Ramadan is about limiting the body and letting the soul grow. But now we are seeing that the claws of capitalism, as I like to call it, have taken hold of the holy month as well, unfortunately. More and more commercial actors have realized that Muslims are a group with very strong purchasing power and are targeting us with elements from commercialized holidays such as Christmas, Easter, and so on. And so instead of turning away from materialism, there is an increased focus on things like Ramadan calendars and decorations, clothing, food trends, and so on. And I just have to kind of emphasize here, I understand And I completely support the kind of attempt of making Ramadan a fun and kind of jolly activity, especially for kids. But this is something that I think we should be very cautious of, that I try to like steer clear of as much as possible. Because we have a lot to learn from reflecting on why we, as fasting, worshipping Muslims, should not consume, be in a state where we don't consume, because that's what it's ultimately about, right? But we're constantly pressured to do just that by the modern Kabbalistic society. And so like a rhetorical question here would be to you to reflect on this Ramadan is, what is it about the state of Ubudiyya that is so threatening to modern society when we kind of detach ourselves from the material and are in a complete pure state? And also this link between Islam and sustainability is expressed in the book of the Iranian philosopher Sayyid Hossein Nasr, writes in the book Man and Nature, The Spiritual Crisis of Modern Man. A very interesting book that has kind of shifted my understanding of this matter a bit more than before. And in the book, he warns that humans have broken their bond with nature. And as a result, have put themselves in a great ecological danger. He kind of goes on to blame Western modernity for being materialistic, authoritarian, and inhumane. He claims that the traditional view of nature and creation has been broken in many ways. He believed that Islamic philosophy, metaphysics, and the scientific tradition that we belong to with like arts and literature and so on, always emphasize the spiritual importance of nature. And so by seeing creation through our own faith tradition, we can find our way back to this link between the spiritual and the external. One of the main principles of the Prophet's holistic environmental philosophy is based on the Quranic teachings of Tawheed, and we are a part of creation, and creation is a part of us. And the fact that we cannot harm animals and nature without essentially like harming ourselves. Because there's always this idea, and you've probably kind of experienced that, to become more spiritual and purify ourselves and cure our mental kind of state, we often seek nature. We try to kind of get closer to nature. But I would say that you could also flip that around, right? That to become healthy, to seek kind of a cure to our ailment, we kind of go to nature. But on the other hand, can our state affect the rest of creation? Can our disease be transmitted kind of and create imbalance in the rest of creation? And this is especially important in Ramadan. Hopefully we can use this holy month to find our way back to this connection with the rest of creation. And I told this anecdote last year as well when I had this lecture in Norwegian. And one of the most spiritually profound experiences I had last Ramadan was not in the mosque during Taraweeh or while reading and reflecting on the Quran, but one morning after Fajr, when everything was both inwardly and outwardly, it was very quiet. I noticed the chirping of birds outside my window, something that I usually never notice. It is said that the birds also congregate and engage in dhikr in the morning hours. So this morning I kind of slowed down and it was the Jamaat of the birds that I followed. And the reason I tell this story is to remind us that everything is ultimately signposts, signs that point back to the Creator and His oneness. And there's a deep and profound spiritual lesson in this, if only we are willing to stop and listen. And also, I think a conversation that is very extremely important to have this month is about what sustains us as humans, right? Sorry about that. And the conversation about whether the food that we consume, especially meat, first and foremost, is ethically produced. The meat we consume is not the meat that our forefathers consumed, right? Because they lived with the animals, and then when they sacrificed the animals, because that's what happens, we sacrifice a life so that we can consume this meat and sustain ourselves. They had it was painful for them. They had to sacrifice something, but we just go and like pick some meat off of the disc in the local grocery store. And so that's something that I think we should cultivate more awareness around. And in contrast to modern capitalism that reduces creation to resources that we can kind of manage exactly as humans wish, we have a different view of creation. We have an exalted position as guardians of creation. But in Islam, both animals and nature has rights. And not least like their very own integrity, as I mentioned already, that we humans have no right to deprive them of. We are meant to coexist in harmony and balance with the rest of creation. And just to like move on to the kind of current situation, there is still little known kind of about the link between Islam, like Muslim communities and climate change. Islam is the second largest religion in the world, and as there is a strong connection of Muslims in the regions particularly affected by global warming, there is only now a growing global climate movement in Muslim parts of the world. Ummah for Earth is one of many initiatives that have emerged as a result of growing need to engage, especially in the Muslim communities. This alliance was established in 2020 and consists of 22 organizations worldwide. And they aim to kind of raise Muslim voices in the climate discourse. And Ummah for Earth is the umbrella organization under Greenpeace MENA in the Middle Eastern region. It is actually what kind of inspired us in Greenpeace Nordics to launch our own Ramadan campaign. And then there's other movements such as Green Ummah, a nonprofit organization focused on creating green movements and curriculum for schools so that young Muslims can kind of be educated on this matter. And what is very interesting to kind of note is that in the emergence of the new kind of green Islam, youth are using an Islamic perspective to build a critical movement aimed at kind of preserving and sustaining the environment. Because that is one of the biggest critiques of the climate and environmental movement, is that it's completely deprived from kind of humanity and spirituality. And this approach is important because it provides a kind of deeper account of the moral reasoning for environmental action, in contrast to secular strategies that often lack relevance to the personal and spiritual dimensions. And from the food that we eat to transportation and energy use, simple changes in our daily lives can make a very big difference this Ramadan. According to our beautiful religion, we are appointed as Khalifatullah, stewards of the earth, and have a sacred responsibility bestowed upon us by Allah. And in the Quran and the Sunnah, we find incredible ideas about conservation, and it is only by kind of tapping into this role as Khalifas that we can develop solutions that mitigate climate and environmental problems. And I am convinced that our Ummah can play a significant role in addressing the challenges that we face by collaborating with other faith groups and movements to create a livable future, because it is ultimately our responsibility. And just very quickly to like a couple of like the practical tips. sorry. And just very quickly, a couple of like practical tips to what you can do. I mean, it's very important for me to kind of say that these small changes can make a great difference, even though we also require kind of greater kind of political shifts and systematic changes. But I think that that the kind of biggest kind of change starts within ourselves, right? And in our homes and in our communities and so on. And so transportation, one of the biggest causes of emission in society. We could try to ride with somebody or take public transport or walk, a very kind of neglected prophetic sunnah. Because every trip, everywhere we take to the mosque to kind of pray tarawih or other things, causes air pollution. Food is a large part of CO2 emissions, and mostly it's linked to meat consumption. And here comes kind of the whole discussion of the halal versus tayyib again, right? That we consume in such kind of large quantities meat these days. It's very far from the prophetic sunnah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's something that I think we could start with. And I don't want to take away the meat of Muslims. I know we love these lavish iftars that we have. But I think like maybe having a vegetarian iftar once or twice a week could be like a great start for most of us. Save energy. Dim lights, unplug, standby power accounts for large part, stand for the largest part of the energy that we use. You do kind of small things like smart light bulbs and so on. And water is one of the most valuable resources that we have. Yet water supply worldwide is under threat. It's like the Prophet ﷺ also said that even if water, you have to correct me if I'm kind of paraphrasing wrong, Brother Jamaluddin, but like even if it flows like a river outside your door, be kind of don't be wasteful with water. So it's something that we could be mindful of. And plastic, one of the biggest kind of threats we faced actually today in our society is plastic pollution. Single-use plastic takes over 100 years to break down. I just want everybody to take that in. So a bottle of plastic that we drink from and then throw away, or hopefully recycle, in nature, it would take 100 years to break down. And it's actually so severe, this kind of problem, that research has shown that microplastics is now being found in human blood and breast milk and so on. So it's kind of seeped into the human body, you could say. So try to find alternatives to plastic as much as possible. And also, I would encourage everybody to like spread the word, because we're quite new in our communities about. In many ways, it's a part of our tradition, right? So we're kind of the pioneers in many ways. Our Prophet ﷺ was the pioneer when it comes to this, but also, I think we need to like reconnect with this part of our religion. And so I would encourage everybody to spread the word, create awareness by talking to your family, friends, and colleagues about this. And I always say that awareness is half the battle. As people of Iqra, we have obligation to arm ourselves with knowledge deeply rooted in our own tradition. I truly believe that if understood deeply and practiced correctly, our religion has the revolutionary ability to transform not only our lives, but the whole of society around us. And here are some kind of tips that I've listed. The 40 Green Hadiths, that was actually Brother Jamaluddin who tips me about. And then there's other books. And I'll also like add links to this if anybody wants to, when we share the presentation, hopefully, that you can kind of click in and look into this. Yeah. And then there is a clear kind of basis of knowledge in Islam about this. According to our tradition, harmony must be maintained both vertically, but also horizontally. And sorry. Can you guys still hear me? I'm having some trouble with my.
No, we can
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, there is a clear basis of knowledge in Islam about this. According to our faith tradition, harmony must be maintained both vertically and horizontally. There are teachings on how to act when interacting with the environment. What ties all of this together is a concept in the Quran described as mizan, which is based on the fact that all aspects of creation hold together because they are in a state of perfect balance. And it is only when we exceed this balance that problems arise. And so may this Ramadan be a new start for us all, a start where we can reconnect with all of creation to restore the balance and harmony of Mizan. I mean, thank you so much.
Ameen, Ameen, Ya Rabbil Alameen. That was a beautiful dua, dear Sister Mehwish. Please round of digital applause to our beloved sister, Sister Mehwish, for this very profound and important lecture and reminder for all of us as we enter this sacred month of Ramadan. And of course, this is beyond Ramadan, even though the focus has been on a green Ramadan, essentially a green life in a sense, a holistic life where we connect to our nurture and connect our nature back to our fitrah, and with that, what is the fitrah of the world, of the dunya, of all creation, that we respect that. Really, really encourage us to be connected to that, to also understand what gives nurture to something that is fitri, is to be mindful that we're part of the creation, we don't own the creation, which is something that I think is a great reminder that Sister Mehwish has given us. I was thinking about also the prophetic hadith when the Prophet says that if a Muslim plants a tree or sows seeds and then a bird or a person or an animal eats from it, it is regarded as a sadaqah for him. So Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, this is the month of sadaqah as well. So maybe one sadaqah is to plant a seed, you know. This is something that we highly encourage all of us to do collectively. So sister, you can stop sharing your screen, inshallah, so we can allow our brothers and sisters to ask any questions. So brothers and sisters, if you have any questions, we're not that many today here. So usually we do not allow people to unmute because we have so many brothers and sisters joining and it might take too much time. But if you guys want to ask any questions, feel free to raise your digital hand and then we will allow you guys to unmute yourself, or you can write your questions in the Zoom chat as well. And while you guys are thinking, maybe I'll start by asking a question. So, Sister Mehwish, how can we, because we as ISIP and our Shifa Institute and other affiliated initiatives that we're organizing, we believe in ecological sustainability, grounded in Quran and Sunnah, obviously. Um, we notice sometimes that ecological sustainability becomes a means of also, I don't want to say colonization, so don't get me wrong, but I'm sure you understand what I'm meaning. It's kind of like almost like this savior complex attitude where it's like these people that are from less social, economical, fortunate backgrounds, they don't do anything. And there is this almost this a privileged position of not understanding that you cannot speak about ecological sustainability without also eradicate poverty in a sense. And it's been also used as a way to quote unquote whitewash and also to enforce colonial narratives of people. I think that as Muslims, we have become reactionary, and it's almost like we reject everything that comes from other sources or other parts of the world because we've been colonized. So there is always wisdom in all point of views as long as we try to filter it and be mindful of what wisdom we can find. Of course, we shouldn't search for wisdom in all traditions, obviously, but as the Prophet said, wisdom is the lost property of the believer. Wherever he finds it, he can use it. So in a sense, what I'm asking is how can we make this more accessible? I have some thoughts as well about that. And how can we really bring the spiritual framework towards this? You were alluding to it in your lecture, but because, for instance, when we work with youth, sometimes I don't know about Norway, but here in Sweden, I don't know if other countries have the same experience. When we work with the youth, sometimes they use this word vegetarian as something of a condescending thing. Almost like, as you said, also to be like a meat eater is something bad, and they become very like bypassed and almost like enforced into this liberal mind state, which is quite condescending, to be quite honest. So it's a reactionary thing that we'd reject everything that has to do with a sustainable lifestyle. So obviously this is not the approach we embrace. So what is your suggestion? Like, how can we deal with these things?
Yeah, there are so many things that you could do, but I would always say that at least like my knee-jerk reaction is to seek knowledge about things, like always back to the tradition of kind of being anchored in knowledge. I think that's like our greatest like weapon. And so I would say seek knowledge, try to understand, like there's not a page in the Quran where kind of the cosmos or like animals or nature aren't mentioned. And also just the fact that we have such funny that it's Ramadan, like how connected we are to the cosmos, right? Like when each time we pray, it's connected to the cosmos and the kind of placement of the sun and so on. And so I would say like seek knowledge first and foremost. And also one thing that I've learned after I started working for Greenpeace is independent organization that only kind of is funded by private donors to kind of keep their independence and being able to like criticize and go after all kinds of kind of state-owned companies and so on. And the state themselves, I mean, the government themselves, is to understand where power resides in society, right? And how we can actually create change locally. This starts. And so try to kind of be it through the mosque or like other initiatives, kind of try to understand where you can kind of make those small changes, like make public transport better or like stop selling plastic bags in the local grocery store and so on. So these like small and big changes, I would say, is and it might seem a bit silly, but like a small organization of like 20 people, Greenpeace in Norway, we sued the state last year and we won. The oil nation Norway in a lawsuit against like oil platforms, and we won. So it's like a testament to how very like little group of very committed people can create like great change in society. And the third one, which I think is the most important in the time that we live in, is your power, understanding your power as a consumer. Because this conversation of halal and tayyib, I think it's more evident now than ever, and especially with the situation in all of these countries, like in Palestine, in the Congo, and Sudan, and so on. Ultimately, it's a battle of power and of resources, right, and land. And so I would say that understand that whenever you buy something, it's a transmission of power. So whenever you buy something, you kind of transform power to who you're buying from. And so I
Yeah.
would say that that is a great power that we have that I don't think that we understand in the kind of grander kind of scale of things. So these three things, like very particular, specific things, I think you could start with and create great change with, inshallah. I believe in you guys.
MashaAllah, that's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful nasiha. I agree with you 100%. I think, like, as we see now with all of us who are supporting the plight of our Palestinian brothers and sisters, that boycotting definitely works, and this is something that we can use not only for supporting our beloved brothers and sisters in Palestine, which we should, by the way, and other
Mm,
countries as well that are suffering, but also, as you say, the
mm,
consumer power and to be mindful that we're giving them power by consuming their goods.
mm,
So how can we be able to, through that,
mm.
actually address things that are not only, as you say, both halal and tayyib at the same time. So these are great, great reminders to sister. Thank you for sharing. Brother Muhammad, you're raising your hand. Feel free to share your question.
Waiting patiently.
Assalamu
Brother Muhammad,
alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sorry about that. Digital
no
pause.
problem.
How are you?
Fine. Go ahead, brother.
Okay.
An honor to have you with us.
Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair. Now, until today, my perspective towards ecological sustainability is different. MashaAllah, the lecture of sister is very, very helpful. My question to her is, we believe the end of the world and our responsibility in Islam is, uh, I know we should be coexisting, etc. The question to you is, the world is going to perish one day, and the greatest what do you call the lul, the oppression is shirk, but the world is talking about COP26 and everything. As a Muslim, yes, we should take part in COP26, but the greatest the job is to actually spread the Deen al Islam, which is greater than the and the ecological sustainability. How do we Muslim actually, work together to convey the religion of peacefulness of Islam? Yeah.
I love this question. It's amazing. Thank you. This is kind of a feeling that I'm frustrated by often, being a part of the environmental movement. Is that we speak very in grandeur about like environmental protection, but then they fly in their private jets to COP26 and drink from plastic straws. And the COP and the conference is sponsored by Coca-Cola, which is the biggest plastic polluter in the world. So it's very frustrating at times. I must admit, I agree with you that it seems without like purpose at times. But I think that's where we have to create our own communities and own movements. And that's why I say that we have to kind of rally together and kind of use this framework of Islam, which gives us everything that we need to tackle these problems. Both like in our everyday life, as I pointed out, but also when it comes to like the grand kind of challenges of energy and resources and so on. So I would say that we should not kind of distance ourselves from the kind of secular environmental movements. We have to be at the table. It's one of the things that we often talk about, like when it comes to creating change in society, that you have to have a seat at the table, right? And we always talk about that there are two approaches as Muslims and as minorities and marginalized people. There are two approaches. Either you could be like a Godzilla who like tramples everything in their way and kind of destruction everywhere they go because they're so angry, and we have a right to be angry. Because in Norway, for instance, it's one of the kind of greatest accelerators of climate change when it comes to consumption, when it comes to oil drilling. And now they want to open the deep seas for deep sea mining that we're trying to stop, which is mind-blowing to most people. It's frustrating. And then on the one side, I'm Norwegian. I live in Norway. I was born and raised here. They're accelerating and the biggest causers of climate change and climate crisis. And then my roots are from Pakistan, one of the countries that no other countries has paid a bigger price for climate change than Pakistan, among the countries that are paying the biggest price. So it's very frustrating being in this kind of situation. But I think that and the second approach is then what I'm attempting at, the Trojan horse, I call it, that you kind of come into these movements and try to make change from within. And that's what our tradition and the way of the Prophet ﷺ, that we build bridges, we build communities, we show people through the beauty of our character, right? And so I think that's the best way to go about, in my humble opinion. But what do I know? Yeah, I hope that was a kind of answer to your question.
Jazakallah khairan for your
Excellent. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khairan for your excellent answer, Sister Mehwish. And thank you, Brother Muhammad, for your excellent question as well. MashaAllah. Very honored to have you with us, Brother Muhammad. Thank you so much.
Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah
Always
khair.
honored to be with you. You know what? We are really inspired and really wanted to actually contribute. And just such a green, sorry to say something, green Ramadan is a really good topic. I was thinking, what is it about green? And mashallah is a good one. And sometime often I miss your lecture as well. Always we actually pick up things. Please let us have a conference with the sister and everybody. We really want to work with this world. The world the way in which it's going is really not helpful for the human being. We really want to do something about it, inshallah. Please come to London, we'll do something, inshallah.
This is important. Actually, we're planning to do a task force specifically working with ecological sustainability from an Islamic lens. Inshallah, Sister Mehwish will be one of the great leaders of this, inshallah. We had actually a conference a couple of years ago that we did together with IIUM and ISTAC in Malaysia, where we're speaking about ecological sustainability with other faith groups as well. So we have a lot of things in our tradition that we can utilize in this. So definitely, Brother Muhammad, please reach out to us. We would love to have you with us as part of this task force, inshallah. And we will have Sister Mehwish as one of our great leaders.
Just want to say one thing, Sheikh. You know what it is? most of the people in our, the professional field, they're not really aware about this ecological sustainability because they just ignore the fact that, look, it is not going to be Islamic. And when I actually learn about it, it's really got to do with Islam. It's more because the sisters talk about the coexistence. We have a response towards other creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a great thing that we can work on it.
MashaAllah, Brother Muhammad, your remarks are excellent, and we agree with you. So please join us. We will do this through the ISIP and the Shifa Institute, where Sister Mehwish is one of our great leaders and project managers. And mashallah, she's very knowledgeable, Sister Mehwish, so we can learn from her. So definitely, brother, we will be able to have you with us. Please write your number in the Zoom chat, inshallah. You can send it directly to me, or and we will be in touch with you, inshallah, brother. Thank you so much. It was such an honor.
Jazakallah khair for taking my question.
Barakallahu feekum, akhi Kareem. Sister Hajira, you're raising your hand, mashallah. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Hajira. Welcome. Please ask your question.
Mehwish, thank you so much for this lecture. It was beautiful and really important, I think. And thank you, ISIP, for bringing this topic to us so we can reflect on it throughout the month, inshallah. My question was, as you were talking, you mentioned, for example, how we don't live among animals, or we don't notice the birds outside our own window, or nature kind of becomes background noise, since most of us in the West live in urban environments, and we're very removed from the natural world and the cycles of nature. And perhaps indigenous people who have been more in tune with the cycles of nature who are more in tune with the cycles of nature have noticed these changes probably for 100 years, but we're so removed that we don't even notice what's going on around us. So I guess my question was, like, how can we reconnect with nature in a way that reminds us of its sacrality, reminds us that it's sacred, and reminds us that things are changing and we need to protect it. And I hope that's clear, but just the fact that we might not notice the subtle changes, the way it's affecting our bodies and our societies, and what you think about that in general, the fact that we are so removed and what can be done about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was lovely hearing from you, Hajra. Beautiful reflections and a beautiful question. I think that truly this is one of the tools of like modernity, right? And capitalism to kind of separate ourselves, like the humans, from the rest of creation. Because when we are in harmony with the rest of creation, we are in a more like fitri state and a natural state, then we aren't as like unhappy, and we don't need to like consume to feel better and so on. So there is like a very like strong correlation there. But with the kind of chance of sounding like a hippie, I'm just gonna say that it's small and like trivial things that you could do, but I think they can have very like profound effects on you and your life. I think just being more out in nature, being closer to the elements, being close to the ocean, being in the forest and so on. Climb mountains and I mean, that's like a stretch. You don't have to climb mountains, but like walk outside. I think walking barefoot, there's a lot of research like backing this up. Walking barefoot on grass has such a positive effect on, I don't know like the scientific kind of effects of it, but you can probably look it up. It had such a positive effect on the human body. And also we've known this forever, but the whole grounding kind of practice that people do more and more now, which we do every day, 5 times a day, putting our head on the ground. I would also say pray outside in nature. Put your head literally on the ground. I think that should cultivate some kind of a connection to creation that otherwise I don't think we would be able to attain. And I have, like I said, like with the chance of sounding like a hippie, I have this thing that I do when I'm traveling, especially not only in Norway, especially when I'm traveling, I always like find this like one majestic tree everywhere I go. SubhanAllah, it's a weird thing. I call it the tree of life. And so I go over to the tree and I put my hand on the tree. I know it sounds silly, but there's something about, I think, human arrogance that plays a big part in this, right? Putting ourselves in the center of human, like of creation. And so when I put my hand on this tree, I'm kind of the feeling of insignificance washes over me. And it's such a kind of humble state to be in. So the realization that this tree has been here for hundreds of years before me, and I will die because the only thing that is promised is death. And when I go, this tree will still be here. And I think that like feeling of insignificance is very good for the human arrogance. Yeah. And also, like, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. No, I thought you were done. Please continue.
Yeah, also just cultivate love and rahma within yourself, right? And when I started this journey of my consciousness around these things, I've cultivated so much love for all kinds of creatures. Like the cats, it's a silly thing. The cats in my neighborhood now follow me when I'm walking back from the bus. It's a strange thing. So when you cultivate this within yourself, it kind of has this effect that grows in your life. And so, yeah.
MashaAllah. This is beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sister Hajira, for your excellent question, first and foremost. And thank you for your great reflections and answers, Sister Mehwish. Yeah, we actually had a lecture with Dr. Samir Mahmoud a couple of months ago in ISIP, and he was doing a lecture about tafakkur and contemplation in nature. So what you're saying is specifically connected to the tafakkur tradition in Islamic psychology, actually, where we are guided to do tafakkur and tadabbur in nature as a way to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's divine names and attributes through his creation, aspects of it. At least, of course, Allah is greater than everything in the creation and beyond everything in the creation, but nevertheless, is part of the creation. And as you said, that we integrate ourselves into the rest of the creation, because modernity has disconnected us from creation. We don't know, where is this food made? Where is this, where is these vegetables? Where how did it go from a seed to a plant to harvested by somebody who's working as a farmer, for instance? How does these procedures work? Because we're so disconnected due to industrialization and, as you mentioned, capitalism. So to just reconnect by, for instance, connecting to the tree, it's very beautiful, tafakkur practice. So definitely that's something we should all do.
Just a small thing that I wanted to add, like,
of course,
I also recently bought this book called How to Become a Farmer. I remember I mentioned it too. And also Sheikh Umar Farouk Abdullah says that that growing your own food in today's society is a revolutionary act. So I would also say, like, grow something. Just it doesn't have to be food if you don't have the environment for it. It can be a flower. And just to see how something is created, subhanAllah. And it's like you're saying, like through tafakkur, we can through nature and the cosmos, we can understand the attributes of Allah.
That's a great quote, mashallah. May Allah preserve Dr. Omar and all of our amazing teachers. Is actually the whole permaculture movement that we're seeing all over the world is something that is, in a sense, revolutionary, in a sense that we're rediscovering ourselves through connecting ourselves back to fitra by being closer to nature. And this is something that even from a mental health point of view is very healthy for us, and it sustains us and it nurtures us. So inshallah, we will internalize your nasiha, dear Sister Mehwish. Jazakallah khairan. And Sister Hajira, by the way, she has done lectures for us in the past, so we're very glad to have her. She spoke about sacred architecture a couple of months ago, so that was amazing. Thank you, Sister. Dr. Bibi Jan, please go ahead. How are you doing, Doctor?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Ramadan Kareem and Ramadan Mubarak to everyone. Dear Brother Said, thank you so much for this wonderful session. And Sister Dar, Alhamdulillah, I'm really excited and really want to go deeper into this topic because I came from Singapore. It's a small little island, and green movement has been part of the Singapore program since 1970s, 80s, because we have no resources and so on. But I think what you said is really hitting the nail, because we are not just doing all this because United Nations initiative or because of the survival issue. But I think the fundamental is this Quranic concept that we are Khalifatullah and we are given the responsibility to bring prosperity to this earth. So I think we, the Muslims, have responsibility of inculcating this movement, the green deen, the Green Ummah. I really like the concept that you highlighted this evening. I mean, Singapore is evening now. It's about 10:30 in the evening. So, because myself, I'm being a counselor, I do a lot of green therapy, horticulture therapy, and I'm working with a group of people with dementia, people with kids, high risk kids, ADHD kids. So I think being close to nature and doing like what we had in Japan, they had forest bathing, and so all these are very, very critical. I think we have to bring back that tradition. So ISIP under Jamaluddin and the whole team, I would like to see that we have to develop a big group of people in the Muslim community, especially the young one, ESG, to promote ESG at the global level, because we are really behind time as compared to the non-Muslims who are actually championing all this green movement, in every aspect. So I think it's about time we actually come together and to put our effort and to inculcate in the ummah itself. I think we have problem with our ummah. With our ummah, I find that the non-Muslims, for example, the Christian, we have Oxfam, we have Saint Vincent, we have Salvation Army worldwide, globally, and no issue about using second-hand pre-loved goods. But our people, I can't speak for everybody. I know the people in the West, they are okay, but people in the East, sometimes the Asians, they have this mentality that you are being seen that you are so cheapskate, you buy second-hand goods and all that. So I think I love Professor Yunus from Bangladesh, the Green Bank movement, where he said that we have to learn the 4R. First we have to learn to refuse unless we need it, and second we have to learn to reduce. We only buy when we need, and third R is reuse. And finally is about recycle. So I think we can even extend more R if we have the think tank group, the mobilizer, who can mobilize. And I think Brother Said, you are good at this. Within 4 years, 5 years, you have made ISIP as a international movement. So please continue doing this. Wallahu alam. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
MashaAllah, Dr. Bibi
Thank
Jan,
you
we're
so
so
much.
honored to have you with us. Thank you so much for your great reflection. Dr. Bibi
Assalamu
Jan is
alaikum.
great leaders, by the way, in ISIP, so
As-
we're very honored to have her with
yeah.
us. You go ahead, Sister.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Just 1 second, Sister. Just if
Sorry.
Sister Mehwish wants to give some
Oh,
comments on
sure,
Dr.
sure,
Bibi Jan,
Yeah,
then
could I just quickly just reply to that?
if you
I just
just
want to
also
say,
raise your digital hands, Sister Sam. So everybody who wants to say something, please raise your digital hands, and then I will divide.
You know what? I can't because I'm trying to find the hand and it doesn't work on my phone
Okay.
for some reason. I don't know what happened. I've been trying for a long time.
No
Anyway,
problem,
sorry
Sister.
about that.
I can
Go ahead.
remember
No.
you. I just want to say like a quick comment to Sister Bibi. Thank you so much for your beautiful reflections. And I also have to highlight that Malaysia and Indonesia are leading the way in the Muslim world when it comes to the green movement. And so I'm very inspired by you guys and what you do. And Greenpeace Indonesia has played like a very kind of important role in kind of this whole Palestine situation also within Greenpeace, the organization where I work. And so I'm very inspired by you guys. And also, I think you pointed to something very important that I kind of didn't emphasize enough, I feel like, in the lecture, which is consumption. I have a great problem with this, and I'm the first one to kind of admit. But I've managed, since I became aware of this, to kind of gradually go to buying kind of previously owned used things like clothes, like vintage clothing, and sort of thrifting and so on. And it's become a lifestyle, I must say. Once you kind of see kind of fast fashion and these kind of value chains for what they are, it's basically modern slavery is what it is. I'm not completely cured. Astaghfirullah, I have a long way to go. But I think like becoming aware about these things is really important, and to kind of shifting away, like you said, from always needing more. It's like one of the shuyukh pointed out that isn't it subhanallah funny how we are one of the few species that takes more than we need. You've never seen a lion kill like a pack of hyenas just because he can. And so this is something that we should reflect upon. Yeah. Thank
That's
you.
a great remark, Sister Mehwish, and thank you, Dr. Bibijan, for sharing your excellent feedback and the amazing work you're doing. We have so many colleagues in ISIP Singapore chapter under Sister Dr. Bibijan's leadership, and also Malaysia and Indonesia. They're doing amazing work. So I agree.
Amazing job.
I think that what you said here is very profound. I want to reflect upon that. I will let Sister Sam just share her reflections, because we haven't always been like this as a species. This is maybe the last 200 years because of industrialization that we're consuming more. We're taking more than what we're giving back. This is not the tradition of human beings in history. And we can even see it in art. We can see it in architecture. I was thinking about Sister Hajara's lecture a couple of months ago. But I will digress and come back to that. Sister Sam, you wanted to share something?
Yes, thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Ramadan Mubarak to all of you.
Ramadan
You know, I feel with you, Mavish, about the trees. I travel the world and I see very different kinds of trees, and taking pictures of them. I also plant trees around the world. Alhamdulillah. I practice holistic living here in the U.S. and also we had our first green composting Ramadan last night, which I am the chair of that mosque, alhamdulillah. And even in my charity organizations that we do no plastic, no foam kind of deal as well. So I would love to get in touch with you guys, and because I do projects around the world, we'd love people like you to speak up. And I wish there was something like this spoken last night as well, because not very many people are on board about this. Ramadan's going on, Taraweeh is going on, plastic bottles are floating everywhere. And when I was there to reduce them and brought a composting bin and all that. But like I said, we need to, be more mindful about all this, practicing holistic living. And I also raised my daughter holistic living and, recycling, reduce shopping, no shopping, whatsoever. So, I'm so happy to meet this group. Somebody sent me your link and I just happened to bump into this. So I'm so happy about this thing and couldn't wait to just express myself. Thank you so much. And I would love to be in touch with you guys again, inshallah.
Thank you, Sister Sam. You can actually, it's an honor to have you with us, and thank you for the amazing community work you're doing in US. Which part of US are you from, sister?
I'm from Chicago, but I
Chicago.
do have projects around the world. I just came back
MashaAllah.
from other parts of the world. I do Gaza and I'm a charity organization as well. So yeah.
Beautiful. I just added our email address in the chat, sister, and I will
Okay,
add
great.
yeah,
Sorry.
our
Sorry
WhatsApp
for not
number.
raising the hand. I changed my phone and I'm still
No
trying to
problem,
work
sister.
around it. So
No problem,
thank you.
sister, at all. Usually we don't open up our microphones because we're
Yeah,
quite a small niche
I
group
understand.
today. I feel
I
like
apologize. I
no problem at
apologize.
all. No. You don't need to apologize. I should apologize for my shortcomings. Usually we have a lot of people joining, so it will take the questions through the chat. But today it's a beautiful sohbah, so we're really honored to hear you and our other colleagues here as well. So please join us, sister. We will be more than honored to work with you. We have our Shifa Institute, where Sister Mehwish is one of our great leaders, and also ISIP has a lot of other task forces. Dr. Bibi Jan is part of our Singaporean chapter, for instance. So reach out. I added our email address, contact@isip.foundation, also my WhatsApp number. You can also join our WhatsApp group. The link is in the chat, and both my colleagues, Sister Tree and Sister Aya, have shared a lot of great resources.
Yes.
So join our WhatsApp groups or whatever platform, and we will love to work.
Inshallah. And I would love to share some. I would love to share some pictures from last night's Ramadan as well. Inshallah. So yeah, and where your WhatsApp group is where? Did you say you put it in there?
In the Zoom chat, sister. If you check
Yes,
the
yes,
Zoom
you
chat,
did. Got
see
it.
that
Got
there's
it.
a
Yes,
WhatsApp
yes.
group there.
Yes, yes,
So
got
just
it. Thank
introduce
you.
yourself there, and you can take the email as well. Thank you for your
Thank you so
service,
much.
sister. We're very honored to have you with us.
Thank you.
All right, dear brothers and sisters, I think we're coming to a point where we can start to wrap up. It was great. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to raise your hand. We still have a couple of minutes left. As I say, we always want to be action-oriented. This is something we love theory and we want to apply it, right? So our suggestion is, dear brothers and sisters, to all of you that are interested, we're going to establish a task force specifically working on ecological sustainability from an Islamic point of view. As I mentioned a couple of years ago, we were part of a project together with other faith groups and how we can use spirituality as a way to speak about ecological sustainability, together with our counterparts in Malaysia, actually, ISTAC, IIUM, and other organizations. We did a partnership with other faith groups in working with ecological sustainability as well. And I think there is something here where Sister Mehwish was speaking about how you connect the horizontal with the vertical being spirituality and Tawheed in our case. So if you guys are interested, feel free to join. We will also email out links to this as well, because we need to do some actions. And as Sister Sam said, mashallah, they're working to do more sustainable iftars, for instance, in her community, which is important. And as Dr. Bibi Jam mentioned, also forest bathing, how you can use a connection to nature, which is ecological health, as part of the therapeutic process, forest bathing and other modalities that have become quite important in this day and age of therapy. So these are some of the great reflections. And we have also Sister Hajira, who's an architect in a sense, working with architecture. And how can we connect that to connecting yourself to nature so that mass consumption is not the only way where we consume, rather we try to consume mindfully as a way to be sustainable. So please join us. And Sister Mehwish, any final remarks from your side on thoughts of from listening to our beloved brothers and sisters here?
No, not much more to add. It's just been a very beautiful time. It's been lovely speaking to you and connecting with everybody, especially listening to your feedback and your reflections and your questions and so on. And just to circle back to what you wanted to come back to, Brother Jamaluddin, about how we see the thought that I want to leave you with, if there's still some doubt about whether this is something that we should be concerned about as Muslims, I would say just look at the population of animals, be it on land or in the oceans. The species that are going extinct are the kind of rare, unique, majestic, special creatures. And then there's an overflow of rodents and rats and cockroaches and seaweed and the oceans and so on. And so that's something that I think should be kind of telling about the state of creation, something that we should take with us and try our best to kind of cultivate this dimension of our religion that is often forgotten. I saw this post about, you were speaking about architecture with our beloved Hajra, how beauty is eliminated from society, modern society. The buildings and lamps and the streets aren't beautiful anymore. We don't ornament things anymore. And so I think this under kind of appreciated dimension of our religion that is ihsan, making beautiful, making beautiful our surroundings, taking care of beautiful creatures, and also beautifying our character. It's again, Sheikh Umar Farooq Abdullah, I saw this clip today, subhanAllah, it's so connected to this. He said that good character starts with the stomach, and connecting back to Ramadan, how if you can control that, you can control your kind of character and stuff like that. And so just leave you with that to reflect upon. And thank you so much. It's been an honor to speak to you guys. So thank you, Brother Jamaluddin, and everybody who's behind. A special thank you to Sister Dania, the ISIP secretary, who's very patient with me. And to everybody who came and spent very valuable hours of Ramadan with us. Thank you. May Allah reward you all for being here.
Ameen, ameen. Jazakallah khairan for your beautiful du'as and for your great intentions to normalize these topics into our ummah and to allow us to reflect together with your sister Mehwish. I think this is an important topic, and as students of knowledge and students of Islamic psychology, this is connected to psychology. When children are young, they always speak about the animals, and we always try to bring the attributes of animals and the way that we give tarbiyah to our children. So you're strong as a lion, you're mindful as an owl, you're a sustainer, and you're resilient as a camel. I remember when I was a child, my father used to give me tarbiyah from all these attributes that we assign to different, animals and creatures, right? But then as we grow up, we disconnect because then urbanization and the modern society takes place and you disconnect yourself. But children are so close to the fitra, And part of that is to be close to creation and all aspects of creation. And it's about bringing that child in ourselves back as a way to really sustain and to be close to creation. And we will end just by saying that enjoy Ramadan and be mindful, brothers and sisters. I will definitely, thanks to this inspiration for Sister Mehwish, be more mindful of the way that I will engage with iftar and other spiritual practices in the end of the day, that we try to not waste and we try to instead be mindful of our consumption, which is part of also our ibadat during this holy month of Ramadan. So round of digital applause to our beloved sister Mehwish Dar, and we're very honored to work with her and learn from her vast amount of expertise, experience, and excellent leadership. And I want to thank you all for asking great questions, Brother Muhammad, Dr. Bibijan, Sister Sam, and others who wrote questions as well. And inshallah, yes, Brother Muhammad, the stomach, yes. You know, Sister Mehwish, you're Urdu speaker. In Farsi, there is the name of stomach is also the name of the heart. So in Farsi, we say del. Del is stomach, but del means heart as well. So the heart is also allocated to the stomach sometimes. It's quite interesting. So when we say deleman, it's my stomach, but it's also my heart. So alhamdulillah, there's a lot of wisdom in what you said. So may Allah bless you, sister, and we're very honored to listen to you, and you're doing an excellent job, and may Allah grant you tawfiq, and inshallah we will continue this work together. Brothers and sisters, join our WhatsApp groups. Feel free to email us if you guys have any questions. I want to thank also our dear colleagues, Sister Aya and Sister Tri and Sister Nadir and Sister Dania, and all other colleagues for organizing all things in such an amazing way in ISIP. And Ramadan Mubarak to all of you. And inshallah, without any further ado, we will finalize now our session. And we hope you guys will have a great iftar or suhoor or whatever time zone you are in. Enjoy your Taraweeh and enjoy this sacred month of Ramadan. Let us be as green as possible, according to the beloved sister and colleague, Sister Mehwish. Jazakallah khairan, everybody. Take
Thank
care of
you.
yourself. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Ameen.
Ameen.